Welcome back to the Make It Count podcast.
I'm Marcus Mire, founder of Mire Group CPAs and the Total Control Accounting System.
And I'm Tyler Warner, small business owner with a lot of accounting questions.
All right, Tyler, this episode, I hope you have a lot of questions.
I'm ready.
Like I told you before we started, I need your co-host chops.
Dude, I've never been more ready.
Right. All right, so today we're going to kind of walk through a scenario that I experience a lot and then give you some reasons why you should take me up on what I'm about to pitch.
Okay.
All right, so common scenario that I'm seeing with someone who is like knows their accounting kind of back office and systems aren't the best.
Okay.
Right? And so they're at the table with me. Like, you know, this happened at lunch recently. New client. Hey, all right. He was like, hey, I've been watching your podcast. I'm interested in what you got going. So we start talking. We start talking about the back office. How do you do things? What applications do you use? And we started then talking about these different solutions. Mm-hmm. Cloud-based solutions, Xero, Zapier, Gusto.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of the things we use.
All the ones we love.
All the ones we love. And what was interesting is that the prospective client goes, "Oh yeah, I'm using Zapier. Oh yeah, on my personal bank account, everything's automated. You know, we pay the bills, no checks. Like, oh yeah, I check everything online. It's like totally
sure."
And then he goes, and I said, "That's interesting because you just told me that you run your $6 million business on QuickBooks Desktop."
Burn.
Right. No, and the guy we were start talking, and here's the point of this whole conversation. He goes, well, I forget the name. I always want to say Betty.
Dude.
I think it might be Betty. But he goes, oh, Betty would kill us if we moved off QuickBooks Desktop. And I realized something. I was like, it's the bookkeepers. The internal bookkeepers are the gatekeepers to a lot of people's automation of their business's finances.
Dude, you're just going straight at the root.
Well, I think here's the reason. Generally, and probably almost every time, they know more about your back office and the systems and how to pay people, how to get money in the door than you.
Yeah.
They know the pain points or perceived pain points of how to do all of those things. And so what happens is a lot of times they will bring up something, almost could be like a red herring, but you don't have enough information to refute it.
Yeah.
Like I've heard, oh God, there's a million reservations like around payroll. Well, I mean, how are we gonna issue the W-2s to people? I mean, how are we gonna do that? How are we gonna pay the payroll taxes?
Yeah.
I think you mentioned we were talking about this in a business you're dealing with. How are we gonna track PTO? And it's like the fact that you're asking these questions actually is a great lead-in because these software we're going to put you on do all those things for you.
Yeah, and I want to say this too to the business owners who might be thinking of the Bettys in their lives, or it's a good thing that, like, if you're painting with a broad brush, it's a good thing that most people in that position have a skepticism and have a sort of like, we want to run a tight ship. I mean, that's a great trait for that role.
Yep.
But what I think is, like, we've moved past and we talk about this a good bit, like you actually know the names. Like, there's the early adopter.
Right. Early
majority. And then there's, like, I guess.
Late to the party. I forget. And then laggard, I think is the last one.
And so, like, you think of, like, okay, there's this, like, persona of, like, I think of Facebook, how, like, their early motto was, like, break stuff. And they would just tell their engineers, like, yeah, break stuff. Like, there's a sort of, like, correlation with, like, a little bit of recklessness of the innovation. You know, like, you got to be willing to risk and break stuff. And so I think whenever we talk about, like, cloud tools or we talk about these things, like, again, stereotypically, those people are a little more like, whoa, wait a minute. We don't need to be reckless here. We don't need to be innovative. Like, we need to do the tried and true.
Yeah, we need to get people paid and reconcile the checking account.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing innovative about that, or so they think.
Yeah, exactly. But what they may not, I think what you need to do is bridge that gap of like, hey, no, this isn't fringe anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, this is solid and it's being used every day. And like, when you bridge that gap, I think that's what's not happening.
Yeah, I think this is you're bringing up a really good point because what you brought up is something I experienced at a different client. So I had a buddy of mine. He said, "Listen, our bookkeeper, and she's really like a CFO type. She's a CPA. She's been around a long time, and she's going to retire. I need you to do a little audit of what she does so we can understand when she goes to leave, we're not caught with our pants down.
Yeah.
And it was more of like a systems audit. And we did this. We went for 4 hours on site and we talked with her and every different team member that had a role in the finances. And what we found out is exactly what you're saying. All of the systems, and there were a ton, manual processes were built up out of the thought process you just said, which was, we run a tight ship here. We can't have X, Y, and Z happen without X, Y, and Z as a checkpoint. Mm-hmm. Like there were processes upon processes built on manual task because of that. So it made me step back and think, okay, I have to approach this with my friend from a different angle because he's looking to move everything cloud. Yeah. I had to give a little credence, which was, I mean, this person had been run their finances for 30 years. So there's a respect level there, right? Like you have to approach it that way. I think sometimes like guys like us, we want to come in and be like, come on guys, just get rid of all this stuff, move cloud. Right. There was a respect level that I had to adhere to and then say, that's a good thing that you want oversight, governance, security. So we agree on those things. Yeah. But you can have all that and do it with 40% of the effort.
Yeah. I think we make a mistake if we like don't respect the philosophy.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I think that's why it's like, yeah, you guys are an accounting firm. You above all people respect these principles of doing accounting and safety and security and
right.
you know, like it's measured and accounted for so yeah, I mean, no one's trying to throw out those principles.
Yeah,
it's just the practices that are
exactly.
That are
I mean, trust me, we want to dot the I's and cross the T's too.
Yeah,
we just want to do it and not work Saturdays.
Yeah.
And not
so yeah, maybe move from selling the business owner like you're used to selling the bookkeeper. How do you comfort them?
So what I would tell them is, first of all, we got to get to that common ground, like I just said. Like, okay, we both agree. We need to do this with the utmost security. We have to be accurate. Like we have to be efficient. We all agree on that. Okay, and then so if I can gain that, then I point them to very specific processes that they have. I don't know why I keep wanting to say processes. That's my podcast.
Yeah, you're getting smarter, more British processes.
And so I then point them to a broken process, and I say, okay. If what I'm about to propose, does it get outside of the criteria that we just agreed are non-negotiables? Prevent fraud, accurate, timely, relevant, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Does it get outside that? No. Okay. Well, let me tell you why these 4 steps could be consolidated into one. Mm-hmm. For instance, this one client, when they would get a bill, they would print it out. It would come to multiple different places, sometimes through email, sometimes through the mail, sometimes to a different person's email, like all kind of places. Mm. For that person to print it out, they wouldn't even put it, that person being the AP clerk, wouldn't even put it in the software. They would write it down on a voucher sheet and say, hey, controller, this is what I think this should be coded to. Print the voucher, handwrite it, attach the bill, slide it across the controller's desk for her to then say, yeah, you can put that to office supplies. To then go put it in the system, have somebody else cut a check for someone else to sign it. And so I said, okay, I can make that whole process way easier without what's the word I'm looking for? Compromising on any of the things that we say are like the gospel. Mm-hmm. We did that over and over and over. We talked about how you got paid. We talked about how you literally have a payroll system that was taking you 4 days to pay 22 people, built upon manual process after process after process with good intentions. Mm-hmm. We talked about how getting paid was very cumbersome, took a while. Their check writing process took forever. Like we just went one after another. But the point is, the connectivity of data, right? You want to touch things once. You want to pay somebody and have that say accounts payable is now paid, cash is lower, the bill that we got is saved, it's been approved. Like you want those things to happen fast. So connectivity of data is a big thing. Reducing or eliminating manual tasks. So like in the payroll example, perfect example. If you go and want to give your people PTO, common thing, Well, this firm had everybody filling out, like, I think, what they call it, leave requests.
I don't know.
They would hand up, they would, again, whatever form they wanted, send it to their manager, who would then manually approve. And then somebody kept a spreadsheet that wasn't in the payroll software of the PTO. It was like, that could all happen again in one fell swoop. Like, they submit a leave request, it's approved, it gets deducted from their PTO, and it's done. So again, connectivity of data, reduce, eliminate manual tasks. You start to see the efficiency, but you got to first get the common ground and be able, as the professional, to kind of like tamper some of the things, like I'm not gonna say red flags, like some of the things that the bookkeeper will say, like, well, what about this and what about that? Because that's what I experience a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to. Okay, so I'm just gonna go there.
Yeah.
How much of that do you feel like is just protective of their job? I mean, that's the awkwardness, you know what I mean? It's because, like, you can sell the business owner, and it's, you see this, I mean, this is the classic technology, you know what I mean? It's
going to take my job.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, when you're thinking, okay, something that used to take 4 days is going to now take, let's say, 4 hours. You know, well, that's 3 days of 3.5 days of your job that just got eliminated.
Right.
I mean, that's the tough thing. Is there really a way to sell this to the bookkeepers, or is it cannibalizing their jobs?
I would say this. Most places you go, when you have this is a good question. When you have this conversation with the business owner, they never want to eliminate that person. Mm-hmm. First of all, they want to know what they're doing and why it takes so long. Mm-hmm. Then they want to have an idea that if something happened to them, what happens. But when I tell them, hey, this 40-hour-a-week job, let's just be conservative, should take 22. Okay, what are we going to do with the 18 hours, basically 2.5 days? Well, you're already paying that person. So your budget already says, and we're assuming this is a healthy business. So there's different arguments here, but let's just say healthy business, profitable.
Right.
You're already paying so-and-so. Why not bring them into a more value-added role? See, because that's what's happening in accounting firms. So I can equate it back to what we're doing. We're using a lot of technology and efficiency. Well, now does that mean if it eliminates work from my employees that I just say we'll work half the time? No, what I do is I then move them into proactive value-added roles. Like, give you a good example. Got a client who just signed up with us for a monthly engagement. It's kind of like an all-in package where they don't have enough of a business for a controller, but they got a lot of needs. One of the things that's in that package is unlimited support with Xero and Gusto. So I'm going to get somebody on my team periodically. It's going to be in the practice management software for us as a task to reach out to them. Say, hey, any issues with Gusto recently? You want to talk over the new features that we've seen about how to get people paid, how to let people do charitable contributions through their paycheck? Did you know that there's a laundry list of charities that Gusto will let you deduct from, and they'll handle the payment? Like, so then we start adding value to our clients. That person used to be tying down the bank account and reconciling. Well, now software does that. So what do? I say, go be more value-added client-facing. Mm-hmm. Give them a better experience with us. Tell them about a tip and a trick that, because we would have normally been so busy, we'd have never told them about.
Right.
So that's the kind of things I try to, and most people are way on board with that. They're like, man, what if we could get so-and-so who's really good with people out from behind the desk? Mm-hmm. Now they get to service our clients better. So it's just a repositioning a lot of times and not an elimination.
Yeah, that's comforting, I guess, for the...
You guess?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I think that's a good way to say it and phrase it. I mean, I'm almost just thinking like, you know, if they've been hired just as doing those tasks,
right,
you know, then obviously there's not much here. But yeah, to your point, a lot of times these are people that they're frustrated with that too.
Well, I think too, what you start to see is that this is what I've experienced with our team and other teams. When you start to create a culture of, we don't just accept we do it because that's the way it's always done, or that's the status quo. It creates a culture of innovation, mm-hmm, and it really gives people hope that, man, maybe they'll do that with my job, in the sense that I would like to do more fulfilling tasks. I would like to do more value-added tasks, but I'm stuck doing this process that takes 2 days a week that should take 3 hours. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think it gives some hope in the sense that, yeah, they'll try to innovate, but they won't kicked me to the curb because they freed up some dollars because bots can do the work. Although that maybe that is the case in a big business. I don't know. But a lot of smaller firms, you see that where it's like, no, we're just going to help people transition into better jobs.
Yeah.
And to the point of the bookkeeper role specifically, those type of people tend to be detail oriented, organized. How great would it be if you could free up your bookkeeper to maybe do some executive assistant stuff? As the business owner, there's probably 10 hours of admin stuff a week, 8 hours, 12, I don't know what it is, but there's stuff on your plate as the business owner that you dread doing. Maybe they're repositioned, and we could talk about why that could maybe be automated too, but maybe there's a more value-added role in assisting you, so you go out and have more client meetings, more presentations, whatever it is you do that drives revenue, go do more of that.
All right, we didn't plan this. I'm a little nervous just to put you on the spot, but can you tell us some examples of some before and afters of like maybe bookkeepers that were hesitant and then now are like thriving in a new cloud-based paradigm?
Absolutely. I've got one right now. I've got a client who used to run one company on QuickBooks Desktop. They currently run 5 on Xero. With our help, it's what we call DIY assisted, where we're just in the background supporting them. They now pay all their vendors through Gusto. They pay all of their payroll is through Gusto. So for 5 companies, they have 1099 vendors, they have payroll, they have customers in every business. This was being done, the full-time job, and the owner's wife is handling this. I think she probably works, it's kind of like a 9 to 3 kind of schedule. It was 9 to 3 with one business. It's 9 to 3 with 5. So that point right there, I mean, I keep thinking all of her vendors, that she has them pre-populated in Xero as far as like templated quotes, where she then takes a quote, turns it into a purchase order, pays them through Gusto, it reconciles. Like lots of vendors, lots of contracts. You know what I mean? So the best example would be is she's ramped up to 5 companies, and it used to be 1, and I think probably a very similar workload.
Yeah.
Bank feeds, the data's coming in where she just reconciles it. We showed her how to set up rules. She's also using Relay Bank now, which has been helpful to her. It's just lots of reasons, and I think that's the best example of used to be super manual desktop, now cloud, and 5 times as much.
All right, last question.
Yep.
I want to bring it back to kind of what, the old roadmap we've got here, right?
Yep.
Of like, the first thing is just getting it all in the system. Then we've
Would
got
this be the total control
accounting system right here. I mean, I think of like what I'm really encouraged by what you said about getting them, the business owners you talk to are rarely, they're not trying to eliminate positions. They're trying to leverage them. And so I think of like, okay, once you're able to go from that record phase to that read phase,
right,
and then reap, like most businesses, bookkeepers are stuck. Just most of their tasks are probably in that record phase. Yeah. So what could you tell? Like, what could a business owner expect of their bookkeeper or that financial admin person to provide for them or move toward that second phase of the system? Trends,
irregularities. So if you've got your head in the details, you're just trying to make sure the balance sheet balances and make sure the bank account's reconciled and make sure people get paid. You don't have time to step back and say, well, why is office supplies 20% more than it was last month? Or why did they take 90 days to pay us when they normally take 30? Like you miss the little analytical moments where you can step back with a clear head and really think at the big picture and then drill down where you need to because you're in the weeds so much. So what you could be expecting is people that can give you more timely data. That's one thing. The data will be more timely. If it takes less time to get accounting data in, reconciled, and accurate, then you have it more timely. Second thing is you can use that excess time to then say, hey, see how much we paid these 10 vendors last year comparative to I know what we spent this year, I know what we paid this year. Why is AR taking longer to collect? Could we implement ACH? Is there a better way to do bill pay? Why does payroll take this long? Like you start to then get the questions answered because before you were just in do mode. Now you get to sit back and to your point, read the data, What's the story it's telling? How can we take action on the pain points in places where we know we're inefficient?
Yeah, that's got to be pretty empowering for a bookkeeper or a financial admin, or even if you're kind of doing this like small business where you're the CFO and doing the bookkeeping and all that. That would definitely be a more empowering position for sure.
Yeah, and I think you feel more valued where you're giving insights as opposed to just making sure things are taken care of.
Yeah.
I think what starts to happen is the things getting taken care of happen easier.
Right.
The day-to-day starts to get done faster and more accurate. And you're just checking now to make sure that that's happening versus doing it.
So would
where there's a lot of security. The doing gives a lot of security.
You say this about taxes, that you guys are taxpayer advocates. Would you say your Mire Group is a bookkeeper advocate?
Sure. Okay. We're a small business advocate. So we want to make, if you say, listen, I have a great bookkeeper and they can be trained and they are awesome. We want to help you. We have a saying here. We want to help you do better business. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? That looks like you being more efficient to meet the goals you had when you started the business, because you sure as heck didn't start it to run payroll for 22 people that takes 4 days.
Sure.
That never started there.
Yeah, it wasn't on the vision board.
No. You started because you had a problem you thought you could solve and you were passionate about it.
Yeah.
And if that bookkeeper is part of helping you do that, great. We want to empower them, help you achieve your goals.
Yeah. Boom. All right. Well, I think that's you heard it here, bookkeepers.
Fear not.
Fear not. There's so much potential. All right. Well, if you want more information, always go to mire.group. You can reach out to Marcus and his team there and find all the other podcasts.
See you next time.
Until next time.
See you next time.